So, ready to jump into the net? Site first? Awesome. But what's the first step to creating your website? I'll give you a hint. It doesn't involve dynamic HTML and CSS styles, especially if you don't really know what those things are. The tools you need are right at hand: pen, paper, and your brain. Well, your brain's not actually right at hand. It's really inside your skull, but you know what I mean. Just like any other project, like making a video or writing a paper, you need to take some time and plan out your site before you get started. The first step on the path to internet stardom and multi-millions is to create a sitemap. A sitemap is a simple document that shows the different pages of your site and how they relate to each other. You use this to structure your website and to manage the files you'll need to create to build that site. We can use anything to do this: pen and paper or Post-its. We'll use a PowerPoint organization chart for our example, just to keep things clean and sharp. This also makes it easy to modify. No erasers needed. So, we start with the home page at the top of the sitemap. Below the home page, we list some sub-pages. Sub-pages, you'll remember, are pages that are subordinate to the home page. This means that you can only access them through the home page. So, for our band website, first we have our home page, which will provide an introduction to the rest of the site. Then we have some sub-pages. About what? Well, this website is kind of like a portfolio for the band, showcasing what we're capable of. So, let's break it up by the different things we do. First, a subpage for the band's music, where you can download a few sample songs. Next, a subpage featuring the band's music videos. Now that we've got people excited, let's have a subpage that tells people where they can see the band perform. Then, a subpage about the members of the band, with bios and photos. Finally, an e-commerce subpage where fans can buy band merchandise, including CDs, t-shirts, and posters. Be sure to use the principles of good information design when creating your sitemap. After all, you don't want something that looks like this. We also want 3 sub-pages featuring each of the band's individual albums, which can include track listings and song lyrics. We place those below the music page on the sitemap because the music page will work like the home page for these sub-pages. We can also link from these pages to the e-commerce page so that visitors can buy the albums and cover art they've just seen. Now that you have your sitemap ready, it's time to get designing. First, let's sketch out your site template. Use any application you like: Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, Photoshop, or maybe even your pen and paper again, to create a rough version of what your web pages will look like. Start by using wireframes or black boxes to get a vague idea of what the layout will be. Decide where your header, your footer, and your navigation bar are going to go. The remaining space on each page is where the rest of the content will fit. Remember, each page should maintain design unity, which means that every element of your site design should be in the same place on each page. If you were a professional designer creating a new website, You might have to submit a few unique sketches to show your customer. Then, you'd work with them to combine the best elements into one page. So right now, be your own customer and try playing around with a few ideas before you settle on one design. Once you know what your site layout is like, expand your sketch into a more detailed storyboard. Add an idea of what you want your header to look like, and fill in your navigation bar with all the different pages you want to link to. Remember to use your sitemap as a guide to organizing your navigation bar. Every subpage in your sitemap should be accessible from your navigation bar. For your storyboard, don't feel required to use a web tool. This is just a prototype. You can continue to draw it out by hand or use a simpler program like PowerPoint. You should determine now how you'll name the different pages of your site so that when you start creating links between pages, there will be no confusion. Remember, file names should be lowercase with no spaces between words and always end with a file extension. If you really need to put a space between words, then you can use an underscore or a hyphen. So, let's call our music page music.html and our photos page photos.html, and so on. Now you want to figure out the file structure to use, using the concepts of good file structure and site organization that we've previously discussed. A good, simple structure, one folder to contain all your HTML pages, with a second folder to hold all your images, will work fine in this instance. Now, let's outline your site using a bulleted list to show every page you plan to make and where it can be found in your site's file structure. That's nice and organized, right? You should also figure out where you want to store your non-HTML files, including images, music, and video. It's best to keep these in a separate folder, which you then include in your site outline. For our site, let's create a folder called Images and a folder called Music. For organizational purposes, we'll use these folders to keep that media separate from the HTML. At this point, you know what you want your site to be. The next step is actually starting to make it. And how do you do that? Well, I can't give you all the answers, can I? Oh wait, I can? Cool. Well, that's coming up next.